Welcome to Alex and Annie, the Real Women of Vacation Rentals. I'm Alex,
And I'm Annie.
and we are joined today with Francois Goello of Enso Connect. Francois, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. And this is the highlight of my day today. So thank you.
Oh,
Oh,
this is the highlight of our day and our week. We've been and month that really. I mean, we've been
yeah.
looking forward to talking to you for so long now, and just so excited to hear about everything you have going on at Enso Connect, and more importantly, just about you because you in the time that we've grown to know you are just a fireball of energy and creativity and entrepreneurship. So before we get started, can you give our audience just a little bit of background on what they don't know about you, but some of the things that we might know and we're so impressed by?
For sure, for sure. Well, I'll start with the demographics. So I'm born in London, grew up in London, then moved to New York, then moved to Paris, then moved to Toronto. I'm French, but from France, not from Canada, even though I live in Toronto. Everyone keeps thinking I'm Quebecois. But Enzo started off actually as a class project back in 2019. I was at the University of Toronto studying computer science, cognitive science, focus in computational linguistics. Had to come up with a solution to an entrepreneurial problem, and it had to be robotics focused. And I really don't like robotics. So I went up to my prof and I said, "Can I do smart home devices instead?" He reluctantly said yes, but he said, "You're not going to win the $10,000 cash prize because all the judges are robotics." So I said, "Challenge accepted, Mario." And first weekend, my best friend calls me up and he says, "Francois, you're French. You don't know how to ski. You're trying to become Canadian. You don't know how to ski. You need to learn." So it was a very last minute trip. Friday afternoon, we get in the car, we book a vacation rental on the way. It was instant book on Airbnb, so we get one of those automated messages that just says keys under the doormat, have a nice day. We get to the unit, he's frozen under the doormat, 3 centimeters of thick
Oh,
ice, and that's a good start to the guest experience.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, it was pretty messy. We finally get in after prying the door open, and the heating system was per room, but we couldn't figure that out until the end of the stay. So we all just slept in the living room. And then I don't know, it was a messy stay, but like in the millennials we're asking for like pizza delivery in the middle of nowhere, 11 p.m., like as
of
if the
course.
owner is going to
I would be
answer.
doing the same.
Um,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then, yeah, 5 days after checkout, we get a text message saying we left one of the windows open in the kitchen. Kitchen pipes froze. We own $5,000, and he's sending us to small claims court. So
Oh
that's what
my
started
gosh.
Enzo. Yeah,
Wow.
Wow.
it
But
Wow.
was a
did you learn to
very
ski? But did you learn to ski that weekend?
so I learned pizza and fries, go
Yep.
and
Yes,
stop.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's all you really
That's what
need to
I learned.
know. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what I figured,
That's all
exactly.
yeah.
I
But
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
turns out you do
Wow.
not pizza stop if you're on a blue going super fast. So no, I did not learn how to ski properly, but I
You
was
learned how to
beating all the
fall
kids on the baby
gracefully.
one. Yes,
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly.
the bunny slope, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
God.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
wow. Wow. So was that an individual owner that you booked through on Airbnb or was it a professional
No,
company?
it was a professional company, and funny enough, they ended up in one of our sales sequences. And I was like, guys, not this one, not this
Oh
one.
my gosh. Wow.
Oh goodness.
Add on
Oh
another
my God.
$5,000 to
Yeah,
the bill.
Yeah.
Oh my
exactly. Like,
gosh.
hey, you were the inspiration behind this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we ended up winning the 10 grand, and initially we started in a completely wrong direction. We were actually looking to build a property management system,
Mhm.
which was mistake numero uno. This was pre-pandemic, and we quickly realized there's enough PMS systems out there. So let's focus on what we do best, which is guest
Yeah.
experience and work with the PMSs rather than against. And that's what led to where we're at today, and the different segments of the journey. I mean, there's been a lot of hiccups along the way. Let's be real, COVID being one of them, of course. But
Hmm.
yeah.
So your aha moment was that
So
weekend. I take it like that really started your spark
yeah,
of going down this path.
for sure. I mean, it was a combination of one, I've always loved to travel. So this was a great way for me to mix, a passion, which was traveling. I think it always gives you that sense of being a child again when you explore a new location.
Hmm.
And having grown up in both, having had the privilege of growing up in Europe and North America, I felt like my travel experiences within Europe and North America had gotten a bit stale. And so I started exploring Southeast Asia and Latin America, and other places, and it kind of sparked that interest for travel again that year when that idea had sparked, or when we had that issue with the ski trip. Um, but I would say the aha moment for where Enso Connect is today is when we started discovering the amount of pieces of tech that people were using to solve point-based solutions,
Yeah.
how fragmented the
Hmm.
industry is on that side of things, and how it actually affects the guest experience, how important the guest experience is, not just as the general topic that a lot of people have been using these days, but as a quantifiable metric for the success of your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reviews, it's one of the key metrics for owner retention, and even just your business in general to get more guests.
Yeah.
So yeah, there have been a few aha moments, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. It's interesting. I was talking to a company the other day that I heard that they use 28 different systems to run their business, and from a scalability stance, that makes it impossible. You can't have that many
Yeah,
systems that your staff is having to use, and the margin for error just increases more and more when you keep adding on more programs. And it's the way that property management systems were built within our industry. They started basically just as an accounting platform. That's the core basis of what a property
yeah,
management system is. But as things started to evolve, and the needs of how the website was so important and the call center became so important, and then how you streamline communications, I feel like a lot of the technology in our space is more, it's been kind of Jenga put together like block by block, but
100%.
never was built years ago to know where it is now. And so some of the newer technology that's out there, I think they've had a better opportunity to look towards the future a little bit better. But also some of those technologies also suffer from not understanding as much on what operators really need as their software. And I think what I love about what you guys have done is you're more than just an app. I think you really connect a lot of different assets of or facets of the guest experience and the guest communication process, from the time of booking all the way through post stay, with a unified inbox that makes things a lot easier for teams. I mean, your system actually does cater to kind of the legacy operators that have reservation teams. We aren't just online agents.
Yeah,
So can you tell us a little bit more about Enso and what you've built and where you stand right now?
100%. Yeah. So, after this whole PMS conversation and realizing we're not going down that path, COVID hit, and we were still, exploring a bit the industry, trying to understand the key problems people were facing. And part of the solution that we had pitched and started building was around communication. And so what we had started building out was a unified inbox. That was the first piece of tech we built. Text, email, WhatsApp, Airbnb message, with plans of even integrating social media platforms in the near future, and started layering a lot of basic automations, AI driven decision making systems. So whether it's sentiment analysis, context analysis, or even chatbot like features. But one, it wasn't enough. And two, the automations that we started seeing people use were overkill, and were overkill to the point that it was actually damaging the guest experience, because they were sending so many messages to the guests to automate different aspects that guests, they didn't care. They don't care about all this. They just want to know, when can I check in, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Sure, I need
Right.
to send you my passport and my IDs and my this and my, I don't care. What's the code? I just want to get it.
Right.
And so at the end, I think it was in January of this year, actually, we launched a very small proof of concept around the boarding pass. And I was very pleasantly surprised. That's where things started uptaking for us very quickly. And we signed like 300 accounts in the first month, which we had never done that before. We
Nice.
had, very, very fewer accounts at the time. Um, and it evolved rapidly. It started off with a way for you to just display the check-in information and collect some emails. Then we had customers come in and they were like, well, I want to do verification. And then other customers came in, I want to do upsells. I want to do smart locks. I want to do this. I want to do that. And so we started approaching all the different companies in the space that do these different pieces. AutoHost on the verification, Annie with Hostco on upsells, or Mount with upsells, and started looking at all these different pieces and thinking, well, how can we bring all of this under one umbrella? So it's just one link you send to guests, and that's it. And we partnered with a lot of these companies. But then what we realized was, well, people want to use things based on their business. Like and this is something Steve Milo actually iterated at Verma, which is every owner, every property manager, every guest, every property is different in the vacation rental space. That's what makes this industry so unique compared to the hotel industry, where very standardized and so on. Vacation rental, we're looking for standardization.
Right.
So using that same customization engine of the messaging, we applied it to the boarding pass so that you could start saying, if this channel, run the verification with these guys, if this type of guest, upsell this, if this, business like franchise or sub property group, run it that way, and really customizing all the different segments, so that you're not forced into this sort of pigeonhole or one guest experience and that's it. It's your business. You choose how you want to run it. We're just connecting all these different tools that you're using and letting you choose how you want to use them based on your business rules.
And that's
And it's been fun.
that's just amazing. And to that point, like, I talking with people, and like just throughout my industry experience, like I started out in hotels, moved over to vacation rentals, and went to OTA, and been the whole circle. But that's always been like the issue, is like there's all these pieces of technology that were kind of sitting out there that were great and they were functional, but the problem was they weren't agile enough to work for vacation rentals, because like you said, everything within one company can be so inherently different. So I think what you've been able to do is you've built this technology, or created this connection of technology where it is agile and it can just function based on what the needs are
Exactly.
of the property manager. So growth for you, scalability for you must just be limitless at this point.
That's the objective. And actually there's two pieces to the growth side of things on how we built Enso Connect that makes this, not to sound arrogant, but like $1 billion idea. And I do really think so, is the fact that the architecture of our system, so connection with a lot of different tools is a big piece, because it's no longer a rip and replace. I don't go to you as a property manager and say, hey, rip your existing tech stack, use mine, it's better because XYZ. I say,
Right.
no, keep what you've got, replace
Mm-hmm.
certain pieces if you want to, but make it work together so that
Yep.
you don't make mistakes updating. Oh, I forgot to update that system, so this didn't get sent out, and human error, which can happen, but also tech error because it's
Yep.
not
Yeah.
communicating between each other. But the real bit, I'd say the secret sauce that you guys get to know here, that I think I'd shared at Verma, is how we built our infrastructure. We didn't build it around properties. We built it around guests, which means with enough guests being processed through Enso Connect, we can start seeing patterns, and we've already started seeing few, but enough to know that this is the right direction on guest behaviors based on demographics, based on where they're coming from, what if they're traveling for business. And we're collecting all of that information, not just through the boarding pass, but through messaging, knowing their sentiment, knowing what types of questions they ask, so that we can infer insights for future property managers and upsells, additional revenue opportunities. Basically, if you book a property on Enso Connect today, and tomorrow you book another property from a completely different property manager who's also Enso connected, I can tell that second property manager, by the way, Alex and Annie had rented out their properties to Bob, and this is the experience they had, and these are the reasons. So we suggest doing this, this, and that. And I think it creates kind of a community from a data perspective.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of limitations, privacy,
Sure.
and segments that we have to go through before we can really go down that
Yeah.
path. But
That's really,
Yeah.
yeah,
I love that
I
you
do.
built it based on guests versus on properties. I think that's
Yeah.
really poignant statement. So how do you foresee that communication on the data sharing working? If I book at one company, but then I book at another company and they both use Enso Connect, like how do you connect those dots in a way that's meaningful? Either is it meaningful to the guest to know, or is it to the property manager? Like, does the guest
it's
make an account with Enso Connect, or how does that work?
no. So the guest doesn't get anything other than a web app. It's a link that we send through our messaging system, text, email, WhatsApp, Airbnb, etc. They open that link and it's pretty much everything they need for their stay. Verification, check-ins, smart locks, upsells, guidebooks, all branded with the property manager's logos, social
Yep.
media tags, and so on. They have no application to download. They can add it to their Apple Wallet and so on. The data that we're inferring and collecting throughout their process. So as they're opening up the guidebooks and reading information, as they're purchasing certain upsells or putting in certain data points, travel
Mm-hmm.
reasons, emails, phone numbers, we're centralizing that at the Enso level. Now you still own that data. You can use our CRM to retarget them. You can export it. It's your data. We're not monetizing it for selling it to third party or anything like that. However, we're going to infer insights that, we can't necessarily share the names. We can't necessarily share personal data on past historical upsells, but we can infer what should be done. So if I know Bob is traveling for business, and every time he travels for business, he purchases an early check-in. Now, let's say he books a new property, and I see that Bob has booked this new property, is also traveling for business. And because we collected the flight number and connect to flight awareness and know, hey, the flight is late, we know he's going to, or actually the flight is early. I guess that would be the example. We know he's going to purchase an early check-in. So let's push that upsell to the guest.
Okay.
New revenue stream for the operator and a better experience for the guest, because you proactively provided a service. Maybe you provide it for free because you already know he's going to need it. And that's just going to be that extra thing that made his trip even better, whatever it is, however you want to do it, but optimizing on a more granular level and personalizing, but really personalizing, not saying personalized because we use his name in a message. Like, that's not personalization.
We'll be back in a minute after a word from our premier brand sponsor, Wheelhouse, the ultimate revenue driving machine.
Things that have gotten us through the last 3 to 4 years has been a rigorous and strict budgeting process and really looking at our numbers, not only the finances, but forward looking as we can be in terms of sales numbers, revenue management. We're leveraging some of the best tools in the industry. We use Wheelhouse as a way of managing rates, because we've moved from the very kind of traditional block season rates. And when you move into daily pricing, essentially 365 pricing seasons, all those complex rate rules that go into that, you realize the amount of data you're now working with, and you need a sophisticated tool in order to be able to manage that.
That's Robin Cragen, president and founder of Moving Mountains. Robin and his wife, Heather, manage a portfolio of 200 luxury homes and ski chalets in Steamboat Springs, Breckenridge, Vail, and Beaver Creek, Colorado. Robin shared with us his thoughts on the current state of revenue management and vacation rentals and why this area of the business is so important to homeowner relations.
It's more in tune with how we look at revenue management than what we had been hearing in the past. I think the early iterations of revenue management were, our tool's great. It can react to the market. You can just set it, turn it on, and it will do the pricing for you. And quite frankly, that scared the bejesus out of me. I mean, just the idea of letting a machine make a decision. Rate management is complicated because it's one thing that you're reacting to what's going on in the marketplace, but we also need to consider the goals and objectives of every individual owner. And we have owners that are very specific about minimum revenue per night. They do not want to receive just a few $100s per night for renting their home. It's significant, meaningful revenue for them. And our owners really worry about wear and tear. And so they don't want to see high occupancy. We have to balance that. Our business interest is to rent their home, but in their interest, we also need to preserve their asset.
We asked Robin how he made the decision to go with Wheelhouse over other pricing tools.
So we liked that about Wheelhouse, that it was more of a manageable expense. It's a per unit cost. But also, we weren't just sold on the pricing structure. I think the tool they've developed is extremely easy to use. It's very intuitive. We heard at Durham, John Derule gave this great presentation where he was explaining that it's about presenting you with the information that allows you to make good decisions and distilling that down into decisionable data so that you, as the supercomputer, that is essentially, human beings are still smarter than machines, point that you can make that interpretation of, what do I need to do to move the needle for this property, for that week? We're still learning to use some of these tools, but I think distilling down a ton of information that's out there in the marketplace is helping us to make better decisions.
So one thing that I have noticed too about PMSs is the guest automation communications, whether it's the confirmation, the pre-arrival, the post stays, like that's also really not the core competency of a PMS. And I think that's kind of what drew me to you several months ago when we first started talking. That I was just curious to see how y'all were doing it, because in a similar fashion, when I was at Condo World, we used a company called Revenate that sent out all of our pre-arrivals, confirmations, as well as our actual email marketing promotions. But I think it's a hard thing to have within a software. So, I mean, what do you foresee? Like, do you foresee Enso I know you do some white labeling, but like, do you see software companies really just bringing you into the fold, or do you think that they're going to continue to try and figure out and replicate the technology that you've built, or where do you see the convergence within those two sides?
I mean, I think, there will be companies, there will be PMSs that will continue to want to be it all and build it all, and that's good. And to each their own. I think it's more of a land grab and time to market kind of question, if anything,
Mm-hmm.
is as a property management system, you have thousands of things to look at. I mean,
Yeah.
channel management and owner this and guests and accounting and financials. And I mean, I couldn't even list everything. And I'd written actually my whole thesis for my master's, I'd written it on convergence of hospitality technology.
Oh, wow.
And the take behind it, the research that we had done on this was there's four, potentially five now, I've learned after the thesis was submitted, key verticals. And while the PMS is trying to be all five verticals, which would be, cleaning, maintenance, operations, guest experience, revenue management, dynamic pricing, that segment, and then accounting, which
Mm-hmm.
could be tied within revenue management. Um, I think, and of course, you could keep going on additional verticals, but
Sure.
I think they
Yeah.
can fit within those pillars. Um, for them to want to build everything is complicated. None of them have succeeded. Even the ones that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars still have a marketplace, still have a lot of usage. And in fact, I would quote Muse, one of the property management systems in the hotel space, that actually sees more success with their operators the more tools they have. Now, I don't think it has to do with the quantity of tools, but the fact that the tools that they're able to use are focused. They are specialized in one thing and they're the best in that vertical. Now, how wide that vertical is to be determined, but I think the property management system side of things is potentially too wide to cover it all.
Mm-hmm.
Messaging wise, to answer your question a bit more specifically, Alex, Guesty has a very powerful unified inbox. No questions asked. Host away as well. Doesn't matter. Like we two-way synchronize with most of these systems. So whether you use ours, theirs, it doesn't matter because there's additional value around the boarding pass that customers are using. And then if they do want to make a shift because we have additional functionalities around AI, this, whatever, go for it. At the end of the day, our approach, we're kind of like the Labradors, I like to say in this industry. We're not the pit bulls, is not like we're not trying to replace things, and we're trying to connect all of it in a way that makes sense. And then you choose what you want to use. If you want 28 tools, go for it. Not a problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Not
Yeah.
recommended, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And property managers can
So
customize all these journeys themselves, right? So I mean, if
for sure.
that, then this
Yeah,
back end, that's all on our side to make adjustments to. Yeah, that's great. That's
exactly.
great. Very cool.
Exactly.
Very cool. So
So
let's talk a little bit about you. We want to know about you. And I mean, just one of the things you left out and when you gave your initial demographics was your age, and you're young,
okay.
right? But how old are you?
Yeah. 25.
25.
Yeah.
Okay. So and you've done a lot, and you've built a lot, and your growth trajectory is just huge for somebody at that age. But
Yeah.
talk about,
Appreciate it.
like, I mean, just what your entrepreneurial journey has been like. I mean, how did you know from a very young age that this is what you wanted to do, and wanted to lead a team of technologists and developers? And is it did you always know that?
Yes and no. Like I always had an entrepreneurial vibe, if you will. Like my first non-official venture was selling snowballs in France to people at the park because I had this little machine that can make the perfect round snowballs from
The
New
little
York.
scooper.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah, the
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
scooper.
gosh.
I
And
remember
in
those. Yeah.
France, nobody, like, it never snows. And I think it was back in 2013, it started snowing enough to make real snowballs. And I'd put them up on I lived in a city called Saint-Germain-en-Laye, which had a beautiful view of Paris. It was on a plateau. And so I'd put it on I guess the ramp, what would you call it? The fence line, all these snowballs, and people started taking pictures. And I was like, hey, wait a minute, that's my IP. So I started charging them, and then I started gamifying it, being like, if you throw a snowball and hit my snowball, then I'll give you your money back. And like,
Oh,
if it was an old lady,
Oh,
I'd
that's
make sure
too
to put her
funny.
really far away so she couldn't hit
Wow.
it. Really well optimized. Um,
oh my
That's
gosh.
definitely the
so
most
That's
unique
really,
first
yeah.
business or
it
job that
was not an
anybody's had that we've
official.
asked on the show.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
Um,
Wow.
Definitely not an official business. When I was even younger than that, my dad had, how Amex sends you these fake credit cards, or they used to send you the fake ones to kind of show you what it looks like.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't know why, but they sent him so many of these, and I started trading them like it was real currency. I got in trouble for it. So I like to say my business got acquired by the principal for
Oh
no
my gosh.
detention. Um, so I mean, I've always been inclined to do
Gosh.
something and have that entrepreneurial fire for sure. But I didn't know that it was going to happen right after university. I thought it was going to be more traditional, go through my master's program, go to a software engineering gig in, one of the big tech companies. And then once I get fed up, then start my own thing, or once I have a bit of money, then start my own thing. Um, this kind of just landed on my lap. I mean, I was given this opportunity to join this course. We started this thing, we won the money. I was starting a master's of entrepreneurship at Cambridge in the UK. And I was like, this kind of all aligns. Let's keep doing it. Let's see what
Yeah.
happens. And then now it's like I mean, first of all, there's no way out of this. Like I've signed up for this.
There's no looking
Right.
back.
Yeah.
There's no going back
Can't
here.
go away now. Right. Yeah.
But either way, I'm loving it. Like it is the best thing ever. It's the most time consuming, tiring, and yeah, it's being a founder is one of the most exhausting jobs, but it's so fun, and I get to meet people from around the world. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love it
it clearly fulfills you, and you
for
like
sure.
you have this energy that it radiates from you. And I remember, I think it was Julie George was the first person that had brought you up, at least to me, and I think it was probably to Alex too. And we were both like, there's no way this kid, like he's so
Yeah.
young, like
Yeah.
she's like blowing smoke, like this can't be for real. And like the more we got to like read about you and like connect with you, and it's just like you had a brilliant idea and you weren't afraid to just go after it. And I think that that's such a great story to anybody that just, if you have something, just you have an
Should
idea,
do it.
go after it. I mean, it might not work,
Yeah,
it might work. And if you can derive any sort of passion from it, like that's what life is all about, is finding
for
those
sure.
little moments that'll drive you forward. So I wanted to touch on that. Like, so you're young, you come up with this incredible idea, you start going to meet with people. So were you meeting with property managers that were like, I have like bed linens that are older than you? Like, I mean, were they just they were just
Yeah.
they were just like, you don't know anything about this business. I mean, did you find that your age was maybe a barrier, that you had to find a way to really hone your pitch, your delivery of the product in such a way that you could overcome that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, first off, I don't come from this industry, which I think is something that is beneficial for a tech
Yeah.
company, because
Mhm.
I come in from a tech perspective. I don't come in as I was a property manager and these are the problems I faced, therefore I built this. Sure, that's what you faced, but every other property manager may
Right.
have not faced that same problem. So I
Right.
get a bit more of a step back on how this industry works. I came in with, I didn't even know what a channel manager was. Simon Lehman taught me what a channel manager was. You know what I mean? I was there. I was just like,
That's so
I was
Right.
funny.
like, whoa, this is so cool. Like this is gonna solve so
Yeah.
many of our problems.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't have any experience in the space other than, being on the guest side of things, which could conflict on how we would build the tech. But um, two pieces to that was, one, building the best team ever. Like this is not a me show, even though I'm the one on videos, although I'm going to start externalizing that to the team. It is a team thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got the best engineers, I've got the best marketing, I've got the best design, I've got the best onboarding. Oscar has been killing it on the onboarding. I can't even imagine.
Oh, that's so
Kudos to
cool.
Oscar for that. But the age has been a handicap in some cases. I remember a few examples where that question would be brought up as part of negotiations, as if it had any impact. So, it takes longer to build that credibility in the industry at my age, because I don't have that 20 years of experience and so on. But you meet the right people, you persevere, you keep going, you don't give up, and people start listening slowly and surely. And now they're coming to me for consulting, and I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what?
It's
Yeah.
so crazy. And I would echo the same thing that you said, that I get asked a lot if I've had a challenge, rising up in business because I'm a woman. And I've always said
Yeah.
that I really think that I had more of a challenge in my early days because I was young and
Mm,
I was judged more for being young at that time, that I was about your age, really, or a couple of years younger when I got
yeah.
into vacation rentals and tourism in our area here. And it was more just that people just didn't trust that you knew what you were talking about. And to be
Yeah.
honest, I probably didn't. So because it takes experience, it takes experience, you know. And
For sure.
once I quickly got that experience, but just like you said, it takes meeting the right people and leveraging those moments of confidence to be able to continue to push yourself forward. And it's exciting to see. I think our industry is certainly since then become more accepting of younger people coming into the fold, because technology has just, that's such a big part in it that we need
sure.
younger people that have been, brought up with this tech.
For sure. And I would also add like trust, when the trust factor around the people that we work with as well, which took time initially, landing that first customer, landing that first investor and so on. But then it gets the machine going. And once you get the machine going, like right now I'm at a phase where I can comfortably say we have product market fit. We still have to work on our distribution strategy. We still have to work on certain things, but it's gotten to a point where if someone isn't sure, I can just be like, well, look at the hundreds of property managers. We have 20,000 properties on our platform now.
Sure.
It's like, if you don't trust me, ask them, and it's but it took time. I mean, my first customer, who's also happened to be my second investor, was Jetstream, where basically it was kind of a weird thing, but I had won the City of Toronto Entrepreneur of the Year for this pitch competition. So it's 2019, pre-pandemic. We want to build this PMS thing. We've got a proof of concept, and we've got like one property manager with like 60 properties on it, and that's pretty much it. And we win this pitch competition from Entrepreneur Organization, and I meet this guy called Daniel Dubois, who is, I think, like head of Airbnb for Canada at the time in Eastern USA, or a piece of the East Coast. And he puts me in touch with Mike from Jetstream. And I pitched them what I want to do, and they believed in it, and they were, very very positive. Then COVID hit, the worst time to follow up with them. But 2-3 months later, he follows up with me, and we keep conversation going, and we're talking about, potentially us joining their team. Like there were different conversations, and then I just said, why don't you invest some money and let's see what happens. And it kind of led one thing led to another. And it was really just a snowball effect, if you will, of customers, investors, partners, and people to meet. And yeah, big kudos to Jetstream, and obviously our very first investor, Creator Fund, that probably took the biggest risk because they put in their money 6 days before Trump closed the borders. That day when the borders were closed, everyone else backed out real quick for investing in anything travel related. So big kudos to Creator Fund for that. But it's been a bit of a
there's no straight line in any of these types of journeys. So wow, that's exciting.
I don't know. I stay positive. The other thing is being young. I've got, people say 9 to 5. I've got 12 hours in a day, maybe 14.
Yeah, you got the energy.
7 days a week. I got the energy to keep going. So, the difference is maybe, I don't have the experience, but I've got double the amount of time that, someone with 20 experience has to learn and to figure it out. So,
that's true.
They say it takes 10,000 hours to be an expert in a subject. Goldman Sachs pays their employees very well because they expect them to work 14 hours to get that 10,000 hours within a shorter time frame. So it's kind of the same idea with Enso. It's like, hey, how much can I learn quickly about how this industry works so I can be, not just thought leadership, but I can know what the hell I'm talking about.
Right.
That's how I see it. I don't know.
No, it's a great perspective. It's a great perspective. So what do you think is, I mean, coming into vacation rentals and not knowing the industry, what would you say is the biggest challenge for you right now? I mean, what's the thing that keeps you up at night?
So I mentioned distribution. One of the things that we did was, instead of integrating with all the PMSs and then kind of figuring out how to make good technology, we decided to do the entire opposite, which was let's build really good technology and integrate to few systems and then work our way in. So, I mean, right now, the thing that's keeping me up at night is how quickly can we increase that distribution strategy now that we know that product is working, product is good. I want to move fast. I mean, there's so many things, Alex, Annie, that keep me up at night. If you think about it, like there's just so many things. Like it's probably bad, but everything, the team, making sure everyone's happy and everyone feels like they've got the right purpose here. where we're headed in a few months, some of the new features that are coming out, and how we're going to hire people. Because right now we're going through a hiring process, and as I mentioned earlier, like I'm HR, I'm recruiting, I'm everything, but like
Yeah.
when do you hire a recruiting person? Like when,
Right.
after
Yeah.
20 people, after 30 people? Like I don't
It's a
know.
great question. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
I
all
think
these
Steve
things.
Steve
Yeah.
Trover could help you out there for sure. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that man has a system down to help people out. But so I wanted to ask you, there's all these pieces of technology, and I think that one of the things that Alex and I have identified is that out of COVID came collaboration, out of COVID
Hmm.
Yeah.
came innovation, out of COVID came a sense of purpose and place that vacation rentals had not been experiencing before. Industry's been around for a really long time. We've all been struggling to try to get our footing, get our place in the sun. We have it. So for you, what do you think is the next logical step for Enso Connect? Like, do you foresee you taking this and rolling it out and like replicating into like different business models for different types of industries? Or, I feel like you have this mind that's constantly working because you're not sleeping at night because you're up thinking about all these things.
Facts.
Where do you see all this going for you with again? There's a huge spotlight on our industry. Like how can you Francois and Enso take advantage of that spotlight?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to stick to the hospitality industry. I love this space. I mean, whether it's hotels, vacation rentals, what you mentioned about, community and people coming together, I see this in our industry more than any other industry that I've,
Oh,
sneak
definitely.
peeked
Yeah.
at. Like
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's one
yeah,
big family, and
Yeah.
even competitors, even, whatever. It's like everyone's we're all working towards the same goal in that sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
Totally agree.
I think there's a way for us. So, we've been focused on the professional operators at this
Hmm.
stage. So people, there's no limit necessarily in listing count, but really people who are looking to scale a business, if you're running just a side gig hustle and that's it, we're not necessarily going to be the right fit. But if you're looking to build a business and scale it and get it to, 50, 100, 500 properties, that's really what we focus on. And what I'm interested in is actually there's one key vision I would say behind Enso Connect is to provide the same quality and experience as hotels have for years, especially luxury hotels, but for all vacation rentals. Basically bringing that set of standardization and experience that hotels are strong on, but in a digital, international, global format where you can run almost automated but personalized hospitality business and focus your team and your efforts on what matters in hospitality, which is the human connection, not, just everything that has to be automated in the operations and the cleaning and the this and the accounting, et cetera. I think there's an opportunity for us to move both towards the hotel market further. We are in
Hmm.
sure.
boutique hotels. We are in this sort of, you know, middle ground of what you would consider hotels. I'm not sure if they're hotels or
Hmm.
vacation rentals. They're like semi-condo like
Right,
ish.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
Condo
that.
resorts. Yeah.
You
yeah,
have like,
Condo tels.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. But start moving more towards traditional hotels for sure. And downstream towards individual operators. Although that one I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like because it would have to be super self-serve. Because the CAC
yeah,
LTV and all that doesn't make sense
Hmm.
yeah.
at this
Right.
stage. But anyway, that's numbers. Um, Look, I think we can conquer the hospitality space and be as big as, how do you pronounce Amadeus? Amadeus?
Amadeus. Yeah.
Okay, there we
Amadeus,
go.
yeah.
Sorry. My
Yeah.
French comes out sometimes and I don't know how to pronounce
Amadeus.
certain words.
That's funny.
Um,
It sounds cooler when
but
you say
Amadeus. I like
it.
that.
so I do think there's an opportunity for us to be as big. I do think the guest experience vertical is one that we can conquer, and but we just got to keep our heads down for now and keep working on both the technology, the relations with our partners, and growing it out for more property managers. Really.
I love that you say that. And Annie and I talk about this on the show a lot, that it's like hospitality is really, that's what we all do at the end of the day. So whether it's a timeshare, whether it's a vacation rental, whether it's a hotel, whether it's a campground, it's still that we're all providing a hospitality experience to guests and hopefully a good one. But there's a lot more similarities in what we all do than there are differences. And I think for many years, there's just been kind of a hard line between like vacation rentals and timeshare, for example, like very, very, very hard line. And we talk about convergence or just opportunities really to work together between different verticals. And I know in our market in Myrtle Beach, we've been able to see that and prove that. And I think also where Annie is too in Panama City Beach, but it's a lot of it, I feel like, is market dependent for how, different sides can work together. But as far as you guys are concerned, the technology, it should apply really for any type of inventory. So I think that's the really cool, that makes it the $1 billion idea that
100%.
you mentioned, because you're not limited to just one type of accommodation. So that's
sure.
great.
One of the first slides when I demo the product, or when our team demos the product, is our customers. And we don't do it to say like, oh, look at the brands. We actually do it to show, look at the diversity. We've got a glamping site. We've got a hotel, very traditional, boutique Parisian type hotel, but we also have this cool modern one called Nap York. It's like fully autonomous pods in New York. You just walk in, sleep Japanese style. So it's really, you get to craft both on the real estate side, on the experience side, what you dream about in your hospitality business, and we're just that tech player in the background connecting the dots to make that dream happen. And then looking at the business models as well. I mean, we talk about co-hosting, arbitrage, franchise, all these different business models that are appearing within hospitality that I think are unique. I don't have a position on who's going to win. I think it's going to be a combination, but being able to surface that as well is fairly important. My main thing is just this industry can be standardized. It absolutely can. It's just tech companies are not currently really, we're not actually leading towards that because of the amount of tech players that are coming out, because of all the opportunities that can come for tech players. We're actually adding to this fragmentation on both the guest side, making it completely disparate. Nobody knows what's going on.
Right.
I mean, I've got a property manager I spoke to who was like, oh, you guys have verification. I've been getting emails with passport information. And yeah, some guests complain. I'm like, no way guests complain. I would never send you my passport information via email. Are you crazy?
Yeah, no kidding.
So education, and solving that fragmentation will lead to standardization in this space.
Yeah, I think standardization, but I think to a certain extent, that's where it's been so hard for people outside of our industry to really get their handle on it. Because perfect example, now in my new role at Casago, we are a franchise model, and every market operates a little bit different. I mean, you have some markets where they have one centralized linen facility. You have some that they do the linens in the unit, because the units are very, very far spread out from each other. And it's that creates a lot of different operational challenges for vacation rentals that technology really can't necessarily solve for that. In our Myrtle Beach market, we are a Saturday to Saturday market. So when you check out at 10, those 8-bedroom houses got to be cleaned by 3 o'clock. I mean, you only have a limited amount of hours. So the different operational things like that is where it's the rubber meets the road in our industry, and where good operators can figure out a way to do it, but it's not as simple as technology can sometimes make it seem. But
100%. I think our goal at the end of the day is to be like Shopify of guest experience. It's like every website is different, but they all have that sort of same architecture in the background, but they'll have different designs. They'll have different checkout links. They'll sell different products. They'll do things differently. And we're just going to focus on the guest experience because it's a big enough segment. And I have no interest in getting into revenue management and operations cleaning. Like, that's my goodness, I'm going to stick to what I like. So, and then also just because I respect so much the companies that are out there in those verticals that are already doing such a fantastic job. I mean, Breezeway Cleaning, Turnover B&B, Wheelhouse, Price Labs, like
absolutely.
There's people that are really focused. You focus on the things that you can focus on, right? Like that makes a lot of sense. So I think I would love to have you back later
this time next year.
You're gonna have a lot of announcements.
You'll have an HR manager by then.
You'll have an HR manager. You will have a team. You will have a team of people handling your PR and scheduling for you. So
you guys still get my cell phone. Don't worry.
Well, we have your WhatsApp, so we can get you at any time now. So looking forward, what do you think? Just before we wrap up, what do you think is maybe an item that the industry is not focused enough on and probably should be? We love to ask everybody because there's very different perspective depending on what angle you're coming from. And I'm really curious to what you think is just that item that we're not focused enough attention on.
That's a very powerful question. A lot of answers to that. I love how we said this is going to be unscripted and you're sending me this type of question. That's a curveball. I have too many answers. No, I love it. I love it. I love it. I would say one underestimated element is around upsells. I mean, I've been talking about this for a long time, and even though it's one of the verticals of what we do, it's not our core focus. But I think there's additional opportunities around upsells. There's additional opportunities around data collection, and I think furthering the direct booking movement. People building brands, professionalization of this industry, like these are trends that are happening in real time that we should double down on, that we should be excited by, that these brands are going to come out and we're going to have, it's either going to go multiple brands, a bunch of small brands, or it's going to go Hilton, Marriott. We're already seeing it, Vacasa, V-Trips, Avance, like these big brands that are starting to get known in the world. And all of that, I think, is going to come from guest experience. It's going to come from your direct booking strategy. Sure. And that direct booking strategy is going to come from the data you collect, which includes upsells, which includes, sentiment or all of the different factors around the guest experience. Because one interesting data point, and I know we have to wrap it up here, but is email marketing versus SMS marketing. Email marketing represents less than 7% open rates when you send that MailChimp blast to your past guests, less than 7% open. So I can only imagine what the actual conversion metrics behind that is. Yeah. But via SMS, it's 85% open rates because that little blue dot is really annoying. And you're just going to open that just to get rid of the notification. But that's enough to get, 10 words about something personal, something, from a previous experience in that stay. And let people remember that Airbnb is Yellow Pages, that the OTAs are Yellow Pages, that you're building a hospitality business, not an Airbnb business, and that you need to shine that through your brand, your experience. I think you guys just had Auntie Belly's.
Auntie Belly's,
Lauren. And like, oh my God, the brand. I mean, these things, her TikToks entertain me on LinkedIn.
They're so great.
Right.
Thank you.
So creative.
But it's cool. It builds a brand and it builds that family-like hospitality, friendly environment that I know the vacation rental industry is so well known for. So I think there's going to be extra efforts on that. And I'm hoping to be a part of that sort of, advancements. If that
you will be.
As far as the SMS side, are you speaking for like promotions through SMS or automations through SMS?
Both. Automated promotions.
Promotions. I gotta be honest with you, Francois. There's nothing I despise more than text message promotions, and I'll challenge you a little bit on the emails too, because our emails, when I was previously at Condo World, I mean, we were getting 25 to 30% on promotional emails. On automated emails, those were 50 to 60%. But I don't know. I could be proven wrong. So if you come up with a really great way, because I feel like text messages, your texts are more personal to you versus an email. We've all become accustomed to. You're getting a bunch of different things in there. So that when a text comes in, I'm thinking, oh, it's Annie, or it's Francois. Yeah. But then if I see it's 9 West, I'm like, oh, that's annoying. I don't need to talk to them right now.
But if it was Manolo Blahnik, you would answer it.
No, maybe. If it was the spa.
Louis Vuitton gets a pass, right?
The thing is, I think it depends on the experience you had before, quite frankly. And you're right, the data is going to be different. Some are way more successful at email campaigns than others and so on. I think there's trends as well. People get fed up about a certain way of doing things over a certain amount of time. Like emails in general, now we're starting to get so many emails about this promotion, that company, cold calling is coming back for a lot of companies.
Direct mail is coming back.
Direct mail as well. Exactly. Like we're shifting between different strategies. But my overall take would just simply be that, there's not a single path. There's multiple paths, but there will be a path towards shining brands and driving more direct bookings for a lot of companies. And I'm really hoping to see these brands become big staple names in our industry and in the world, for people to know that they're booking, hospitality accommodations from professional operators. Yeah. So I think that's what excites me the most.
I agree. Yeah. And you heard it here first.
Sure. I'll share some data.
You can come back next year and give us some data. This is great. So Francois, I could talk to you, like we say, we could talk to people all day long, but your energy is infectious. Your passion is evident. we were just so fortunate to meet you finally at Verma, and I just hope that we can connect again throughout all of the, the coming months and years. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
If you want to learn more about Enso Connect, you can go on our website and book a demo. Super simple. There's a big book a demo button. If you want to reach out to me personally, feel free to send me an email. It's firstname.lastname@enzoconnect.com. And I'm always open to having chats with anyone in this space. So feel free to reach out.
Awesome. We will include that
Great.
in the show notes. And thank you again so much for coming on. We've been waiting for this episode, and it was everything we imagined and more. So I hope
More,
that
yeah.
our
Awesome.
listeners felt the same, and I'm sure they did. But wish you a very happy
Amazing.
holidays, and we will see you soon. For anybody who's listening, if you want to reach out to Annie and I, you can go to alexandanniepodcast.com. If you're enjoying the show, we'd love for you to leave a review on Google or Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And until next time, thanks, everybody.